welcome back to the Strong Opinion Hibs podcast. Calvin, I'm back tonight. We've got a full house. Jack and Charlie, how are you, lads?
I'm good.
Aye, all right, aye. Yourself?
Aye, good. Nice to be back. Nice to have a wee break, but nice to be back and see you again. Aye, so a full house, unlike Easter Road these days. However, let's jump into it. The St Mirren game. Right, start a wee bit different tonight. What are two positive things we learned from that game? Two positive things.
I'll go first. First positive for me is Chris Cadden continuing to be a very good player. I think Cadden's just been absolutely outstanding the past couple of games, and he was good in the St Mirren game as well, really busting a gut to get up the wing. Just about anything good we did in that game, he was involved in. And my second positive after that was Sylvester Jasper, when he came on, looked very, very lively. Looks like we've got a player on our hands there. So I was happy with Cadden and Jasper. Cadden especially, because I think he's a player that doesn't get talked about enough for me. He's been having a really good few games. And again, against him, and I sort of feel sorry for him because he really works hard to get up the wing and puts in good crosses, and nobody really gets on the end of them. So that was it for me. Those are my two positives.
And Charlie?
I think probably Mitchell was another positive for me. I think he's going to be a key player for us going forward this season, I think, and from now on. I think also like Jack said, Jasper, when he come on, I think he looked really good. I think he looked to drive with the ball and was really skillful. So I think that's what I want from a winger, someone who isn't scared to do a wee skill to get past a player. So those would be my two positives.
I think for me, I'd probably say Mueller. I think Mueller had a really good game. I was really impressed with Mueller. Especially in the derby and that, but I was just impressed with him. Like, he always gets on the ball and wants to go forward. And I think a positive for me, I was quite happy to see Dabrowski keep the gloves. I thought that was just steady the ship a wee bit. Right, what are two things we need to work on going forward then? So we've had the positives. Let's have double-edged sword. What's the negatives?
I'll start this one. We need a prolific striker. We need someone who's going to hit the net. Because Nisbet had a couple of chances and hit them right at Jack Annick. So we need a prolific striker. But I think that'll come though. I think with these crosses into the box, we just need someone to get on the end of them. And I think I don't know if Melkerson's that type of player to get on the end of these kind of crosses. I'm sure our friend Reindeer Hot Dog would tell us that he probably is.
Got an Andy one in his Instagram video scoring an overhead kick.
Aye, so we need someone like that. And I think someone we need to work on is making sure that Josh Campbell and Jake Doyle-Hayes never play for Hibs again. They are both of them were awful on Saturday, and we can tell how much we miss Joe Newell, which I know a lot of people bang on about Joe Newell, and I personally don't think he's that great, but I think in the derby he showed fight, and we definitely missed him on Saturday.
I'd agree with you. Like, I think I've definitely been one of the Joe Newell boo boys, and I mean, not a boo boy, but I don't think I think we've just been too blessed in that position in the past, and I feel like he's not quite up to the scratch. Maybe like a McGeoch, a Fivey, or Scott Allen, someone who can actually but he's a weird type of midfielder for me, Newell. He doesn't like put his foot on the ball and try and drive forward and make things happen. He's kind of a wee bit of an uglier player. Like he puts his foot in and he's good at winning the ball back, but he's not really a chance creator or a goal scorer himself. What about yourself, Jack?
The first one for me, no getting the ball away unnecessarily. You look at that, the way JDH gave the ball away for their goal. That's been a common theme with us. Campbell did it against Livingston and Celtic, and then JDH did it against Minns. I think because we've been quite solid at the back, but I think a lot of the issues are coming from midfield and giving the ball away unnecessarily. Because before JDH gave the ball away, it basically gifted them that goal.
Right in front of me,
Before we gave the ball away, we had started the second half quite decently. So I think we need to cut that out, because it's not always going to lead to an opposition goal, but it'll take the momentum out. And so the worst case scenario is a goal, but it still takes momentum out. And I don't think that's great, because if we have good momentum, we can build to something. And then the second thing we need to work on for me is, I'm going to sound like a broken record here. I think all of us will be saying this is just stick the chances away. And I've said it before, and I sort of agree with Maloney on that point, is we could have won that game 3 or 4-0 if we'd taken our chances. And I said that when Charlie was said to me on the last podcast, Jack, what do you think we need to do to beat St Mirren? I said, you know what, we could beat teams 4 or 5-0. We could beat teams like that 4 or 5-0 if we just have an end product. We're playing good football, we're moving the ball about well, but we didn't have an end product, and that's what we need. Now, in the past, you'd have the likes, say, McLaren or Riordan or any player like that would just get in there, burst into the box, stick it away. We don't seem to have that right now. And I think it's frustrating, but hopefully Melkerson comes in and is that guy for us. But yeah, those are my two things. Didn't give the ball away unnecessarily and have an end product to the good football we're playing, because it's there. I think the skeleton of it is there. We're moving the ball about well, we're creating chances, but we just don't have the end product. And that's what we need, because we've seen it with Man City when Pep first came in. You can have all the possession you want, but if there's no end product, it's no good. Ball needs to end up in the back of the net.
I'd agree. I think the two things we need to work on for me is I think one of them would be the options that players offer themselves when it's a throw-in. So every time we've got a throw-in, you never see anybody moving or trying to make anything happen. It's very stagnant. It's very obvious as to where the ball's going. The only one on my wing was Muller moving about, but you got likes of Josh Campbell and that just standing there looking at the guy who wanted to take the throw-in, and it's like, move a wee bit or run down the wing or do something with it. And I think the second one for me is probably, I think we need to stop putting Dabrowski under so much pressure at the back. I feel like there's been a few times, like I can almost see what Maloney wants to do, and it's almost like more of a European style of play. Like I've never really seen like goalies in Scotland like playing it for the back or like being good with their feet. Like you usually see it in like German football, for example, like Neuer's quite good with his feet and that, like that sort of European football. But I see them passing the ball back to Macy quite a lot. And like even in the Hearts game, my heart was in my mouth because I was like, it's the guy's debut, like you're putting him under unnecessary pressure, like just deal with it. But we've gotten away lately a few times with it, I feel, but I feel like it's just asking for trouble. So I feel like putting him under a bit of pressure there is a bit of a sticky situation. So, guys, what did you make of the starting 11?
I was not surprised, to be honest. I thought it was how I expected it to be. Obviously, Newell picked up a knock in the derby, so I knew he'd be out. I was glad to see Dabrowski getting, because I think he needs to be given more exposure to the first team like that, because to me, he's a better goalkeeper than Macy. I don't think it's like with the women's team where Gabby and Emily are both good goalkeepers and you can sort of switch between the two.
In what way do you think he's a better goalie? Because there was a lot of folk saying that they think that Macy would have saved those shots that Dabrowski did in the derby. So what do you think is different about Dabrowski that makes him better?
I think he can command his back line better. Honestly, I've seen that.
I heard him talking a lot actually on Saturday.
You can hear him talking, and you can sort of see him like, "Oh, calm it down, lads, calm it down," or whatever. When you get, I noticed that more in the derby than the St Mirren game. There wasn't really many moments in the St Mirren game where he had to do that. But the other one is he's not afraid to come out and collect things. You think a 6'7" goalkeeper would be better at that than a shorter goalkeeper, but he's not afraid to come out and collect things. And when he gets his feet, he's better with his feet than Macy as well. And I think his distribution's better. A lot of people have been saying that. I know it's a thing, a sort of old man to talk about, or goalie's distribution. But I noticed that his distribution is better than Macy. So I think, for me, I was glad to see Dabrowski start. And I think he should be our starting goalkeeper from now on. Now, he's got his faults, I'll admit that. I think sometimes he palms shots away when he could catch them. But he's a young keeper.
There's so many dangerous positions, a couple of those saves into the box, and done it in the derby and all. And it's like, just looks like inexperience a wee bit, I think, at that level.
But that's it. It'll come. I think it'll definitely come. And he's a good goalkeeper. He's got a lot of. And then apart from that, I was happy. It was good to see Mitchell come in because I do like Mitchell. Really, if we're allowed 3 positives back there, I would have said Mitchell as well because he is very good. The way he takes the defenders on and the way he tries and knocks it past them, I think that's good. It doesn't always come off, but it's good that we've got a player that's willing to do that. So yeah, for me, no complaints. Line. I think Campbell had to start when you look at it on balance. Would I prefer to?
I didn't think he had to.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I think I would have preferred to see Henderson, but at the same time, Maloney obviously rates Campbell, and I've said it so many times before. We didn't see what happens on the training ground, so
I can, but he signed Henderson and he worked with Henderson in the under-20s. That's something I was going to come on to in a wee bit, so we'll probably get into that. But no, keep going, mate.
Yeah, but honestly, I think Campbell starts okay. I would have rather seen Henderson, but like I said, I think Maloney's persistent with Campbell, which it's disappointing because I don't think the lad's really there, and I'm not saying anything against him at all, because I think he'd be a good player if he got out on loan somewhere and got a bit more experience. I think he was thrown in at the deep end far too early. He had that one good game against Rangers. He scored that goal against St Mirren, and that was it. I think a loan spell would do him the world of good. But apart from that, I think a decent line starting.
What do you think the difference is between Campbell's and the likes like? Because the Hibs youth squad in the last couple of years, let's not beat around the bush. It's not been great. The amount of players we've developed, it's not been great at all. It's been really poor. You look at the likes of like Ollie Shaw. Okay, well, basically brought him up through an academy to now go in. Other teams are going to reap the rewards. Again, whatever he does, like his goals and that, they're going to get the best of that because he couldn't hack it at us. It seems to be a very big jump from the youth squad, the development squad, to the first team. Like the jump seems to be quite big because a lot of the players that come up, they're miles off it. Like for me, I don't understand why. Like what's better about Josh Campbell than it is Fraser Murray? These players were letting go. Do you know what I mean? Like, and if our youth academy is so good, then why are we signing folk for that Bodo Glint youth academy? That's 2 players we've signed. Do you know what I mean? Like if we're looking at different markets and that, like
on that point, I think I think it's homegrown talent is very, very important to me, but our academy has not had a good track record, and what is good to see is they're trying to rectify that now.
And I think Doig. I don't want to forget about Doig.
You've got Doig, obviously, and I think, you know, looking back in previous years before that, you've had some decent prospects come up. But I think Fraser Murray and Ollie Shaw were 2 players that are good at the level they're playing at now, but just one not. And I think that's the thing. I don't think there's enough preparation. And I know you can't really compare men and women's football, but you look at the girls' academy, there is a proper preparation for getting into the first team. There is a proper pathway. We don't have that in the male football. And I think that's a problem. If you set up a proper pathway for when you're a young laddie all the way into the first team. So the girls, with the girls' academy, you go in at about under 11 level, right? And you work, and if you're good enough, you'll work your way all the way up to the under 19s NP squad. And then you look at Rosie Livingston, who at 15's been fast tracked into the first team. You have Ailey Adams. Now you've got Rosie and Ailey who are both getting on, scoring goals. Why is that not happening at the men's team? It's because there's not a clear enough pathway. There needs to be a clear pathway so that you're developing lads. You're not just getting a lad into the under 18s. Oh, he's had a few good games. Let's give him a chance to the first team. I think there needs to be a clearer pathway, and that's something that I know the club are looking at.
Do you think the reason that pathway is not there though is because in the men's game, like the transfer market's much more sort of, it's more well used. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of like, if you've not got it in house, just go out and buy it. Do you know what I mean? Rather than try to make it.
Again, I think you look at Glasgow City, they've not got hardly any players in their academy. So I think the thing is it's the same in women's football. And the more the women's games becoming professional, the more the women's games get money into it, it becomes the same. What I love about us as a club is that the women's, quite a few players in the starting 11 the women's team. You got like Shannon Leishman, Siobhan Hunter, Joelle. They all came through the academy system and are still first team regulars. So I think it's just a thing. And obviously, I think we've got the prospects there. And even if we have to bring them in from other countries to develop them, that's what the likes of Schalke and Man City do. So I think that's, at least we are sort of following that ethos, I like to say, because you can take a youth prospect from another country and bring them up. That's good, because at least then our academy is getting properly utilised. And if you're a young lad playing football in Scotland, you'll obviously want to end up in that academy team down south, or you want to end up at the Old Firm academy teams that have the resources and the facilities. So I think
we've got the facilities too with East Main. Do you know what I mean? And like Ron said,
you look at that compared to Rangers and Celtic's academies, and the money being spent and the facilities they've got are far. And even though East Main,
but we should still be producing folk that are best of the rest. Do you know how?
If I can come in and
I just jump in at any time.
I've been liking this, but I think for my money, we've got one of the worst academies in Scotland for producing players. You look at over the past, since Riordan, O'Connor and the likes came through.
I think talking 20 years ago.
really the only two that I can think that have actually stuck at Hibs are Porteous and Doig. And that's over a 15, 20-year period. So, and I think that's why we've brought Steve Keenan, and I think that's why he's brought Boozy in as coach, and I think that's also why we are bringing in players like Del Ferrier from where's he, Club Brugge or no,
Standard Liège.
Standard Liège. Thanks, Jack.
And then you've got Runar Haga as well.
Runar Haga, and then you've also got that boy from America that played at Barca. His name escapes me, but these are
You've
players.
got the boy for civil service as well.
These are also boys that have first team experience, and I think they're also boys that are ready, hopefully in the next couple of months or at best a year, to make that step. And I think the reason Josh Campbell is getting a lot of stick is because the only place that they could put him is in the first team. He's no first team ready, and I think that's why a lot of people are running out of patience with him, because he's got experience of playing at Edinburgh City, and he's never really played against men. And I know, professional football player and what have you, but he's no first team ready.
Nah.
And I agree. I think a wee loan spell for him would do him the world of good. But what is he, 21, 22? Like, if he's not ready, or he might be, I don't even know how old he is, to be fair. I'm just plucked out of thin air. That might be wrong. But
I think he's younger than that, a wee bit younger than that.
Give it time. Like,
I think he is. I think he's around that. I think he's about 20 or something.
20 odds, he's early 20s.
Look at it this way. Josh Doig's about the same age, and he's streets ahead of him. If he's not ready to play first team football,
but even look across, like there's Rocky Bashiri. He's 20-year-old. Do you know what I mean?
Porteous came into the first team when he was younger and has stayed. So
that James Scott, he's only 21. I ken he's not a world beater, but
that's the point I'm making, eh? Like if he's not ready for first team football, then why is he being persisted with? Obviously, he might be a good trainer and what have you, but if he's not producing it on the pitch, then why is he still being persisted with?
Yeah, I think that's the thing for me is I'm rapidly losing faith, and people.
He's 21. See what I mean? Like he's not.
Porteous came in at what? Porteous first started getting chances when he was 19.
About that high.
So yeah, I think that's not exactly great, but. Sorry to interject, but I think the thing is I'm not usually, and people know this who follow me and who know me as a football fan, I'm not one to write players off as quickly as I've done with Campbell, because usually I like to give folk chances and I like an underdog, but for me, Campbell just not got it. I looked at the likes, well, for example, I thought I've not been happy with Newell in the past couple of weeks, and then he showed improvement. That's because, to be fair, that's because Newell's older and he's played at Championship, League One in England. So he's used to, having to step up his game now and again because he's been in relegation battles, whatever. But I just think for me, Campbell's just not got it. And it's a shame because I think he'll be a good player for some other club. And if he gets that little bit of just experience, get him out to the likes of Ayr or Dunfermline or somewhere like that. And I think he would. A manager like Yogi wouldn't accept mistakes like that either. He'd be straight them out. I was like, Maloney's more of a, and I like this. I like managers like this, but also you think you need a firm hand something. But I like Maloney's a guy that sort of wants to put the arm around the players and go, right, okay, we'll just look at it like this. So instead of, so I think for me, it's a thing. Campbell, it's make or break for him. He needs to show improvement, or I think we offload them either on loan or permanently in the summer. That's
right. Even in the youth squad and development squad, he used to start as a centre back. He used to be a centre back, and they've just pushed him further up the field. So you can see that he is very defence minded, and that's why it's obviously not working. Like for me, him and Doyle Hayes, Newell and Doyle Hayes, it doesn't work. It is too defensive. And that's what I noticed this week, is I noticed like the St Mirren game, the reason we're putting so many crosses into the box is because we can only go left or right, because we've not got anything in the middle. You've got Mitchell on one wing, and you've got who's another wing? Cadden on the other wing. So you got Mitchell on one wing, Cadden on the other wing. You're getting the balls out to them, and they're driving in and crossing the ball across. We can't take it for the centre back and pass it to the centre mids because none of them are good enough to get their foot on the ball and drive forward. So that's why you're seeing this style of play from Maloney, I believe, anyway.
I'm not against that style of play, mate. But when you've got a striker like Nisbet who's dropping into centre mid to pick the ball up,
that's the problem.
And you've got Deutsch who's at least 2.5 yards off the pace. Like
easy, aye.
We've not got that striker up top that is going to be or even a midfielder that's going to, like a McGuinness type who,
Yeah.
again, we'll not see McGuinness again this season, I think, but we need a midfielder who's happy to go past the strikers and get the ball, or we need a striker. We need somebody with a bit of pace up top, and
We just need a big, horrible, ugly bastard who'll just throw himself about. Do you know what I mean? That's what we need. We've not got that.
You see that with Livingston. I know I'm not comparing us to, like, but you see that boy they had up front, Nubly, like he wasn't afraid
to get stuck in about it,
and that's what we've not got up front. We need someone up front who is happy to throw themselves about, like a Grant Holt type player, but with a bit of pace, because we need somebody up front that is and it gives Nisbet that freedom to move, to get the ball and to do whatever. But when you've got Doige beside him who is slower than a week in the jail, these balls in the box aren't going to go anywhere.
So I agree with what you're saying. I just wanted to say, like, first half thoughts for me, it's something I've noticed is how slow Hibs start at home. We start so slow in the match. It's almost like, Ken, we didn't come at the traps gun blazing. It's very slow. It's a very slow build up. It's miss one chance, miss two chance, miss three. Before you know it, you're looking and you're 30 minutes into the match. There's a whole lot of nothing that does happen, like half chances, missed opportunities, and things like that. Whereas, like, some of the times we've been really successful this year is probably against Rangers in the semi, when we came at the traps and we were guns blazing for the word go. You know what I mean? Like, we were all over them and fast-paced attack, like Maloney said he was going to bring, and didn't get along. I'm no pointing the finger at Maloney here. I'm just saying, like, we are very slow to build out for the back. And I watched St Mirren this week. Like, I thought they came and had a go. Usually, I think teams are quite hard to break down, and they've got like 11 folk behind the ball, but I don't think they did. They left quite a few boys forward, and I just thought we were so slow to break them down. Like, even if you look at Postecoglou's Celtic team, they come at the traps and they're absolutely guns blazing. They're 3-0 up in 30 minutes. That's the match done. 30 minutes work and the match is done. I mean, look at them against Rangers. Ken, they came out guns blazing, first half, job done. Do you know what I mean? And then it's like, they didn't need to try in the second half. That's why Rangers had a good second half. Same when they played us at Easter Road, like, they didn't have to try in the second half. That's why we pulled it back to 3-1. Same against Hearts and teams like that as well. They've done it too. Like, I don't know why we can't try and start fast. We're just very, very slow. And I feel like we dilly-dally and we wait and we sort of stall. And then it's like, we realise, oh shit, like, it's 72 minutes on the clock. Like, we've not scored yet, or we're a goal behind. What have we got to do? What's your thought on that?
That reminds me of the Jack Ross style of play. That I know it worked against Rangers in the semi, but that's the type of football that Maloney's trying to eradicate. And I think the style of play Maloney wants to play is good, but it doesn't work in Scotland if you've not got the players. We do not have the players to play that type of football. You know what I mean?
He must have knew he never had the players though. He must have looked at that Hebb squad, because before he took the job, I'm assuming he'd known in advance he was taking the job, and I'm assuming that he probably done a wee bit of research and watched a few games. He must have known. He must have had some sort of idea to think, Christ, like, came up, maybe I can't play three at the back because the players we've got right now aren't good enough. I'm going to have to try and find like a win now system.
I think it's coming though. Like, I do think the style of play will work. Mm-hmm. I think, but it's also going to take a long time for him to get rid of the deadwood that's in that squad. Like you see who he got rid of in the January window there. Like, he got rid of Murphy, he got rid of Halberg, he got rid of Gogic, he got rid of Jamie Gullen. He got rid of players that aren't going to play in his style of way. So it would be interesting, I think, to see in the summer. I think your players like your Paul McGinns, your Darren McGregors, your players that are out of contract in the summer won't get renewed, I think. Like unfortunately for most Hibs fans, your Scott Allens, your players like that have worked under a certain system, but under this new system with Maloney, I think it's not going to work. And I think that's why he's brought in players like Jasper and Mitchell and players that have that bit of intensity, that because when Jasper came on, he was looking to get on the ball, and how many times did he skip past Richard Tate? 3 or 4 I counted. And he looked like he wanted to get the ball forward. And I know that second half, but first half, you're right, Calvin, we were too slow to start. We're dilly-dallying on the ball. We're just very, very slow to start games, and I think we're going to get caught out sooner rather than later with that.
Yeah, I think we've been caught out twice against Livingston and St Mirren, and I think one of the things I noticed as well is, like, he's obviously only got 2 of his signings in the team. Rocky, and then he's got Mitchell. That's his 2 signings. Like, for me, just coming back to the Josh Campbell debate, he's obviously signed Liam Henderson. So if that's the Maloney signing, why is he not in the team? I mean, other than he might have not had enough minutes, or he might have had a knock. But how is he going to get more minutes? By playing games. Do you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't seem as confident to me. It's a bit worrying.
Ewan Henderson looks like a good player off the bench, because when he came off the bench, he was actively looking to get on the ball. And, he had 2 chances that he probably should have scored with, but...
we can't sign bench players. We're not good enough to do that.
I think
we need a strong 11.
I think on that, though, mate, like, you look at before the January window, how paper thin our bench was. So I think it's good to have squad players, but I agree. I think our starting 11 needs to be a lot stronger than it is just now. And I think that'll come, though. Like, we've got this money that we got for Boyle that has been promised that'll be reinvested. So wouldn't it surprise me if that's reinvested in the... Well, it has to be reinvested in the summer, because it can't be reinvested before then. But I think we'll start to see a different looking Hibs team after the summer. But it's a worry.
I think
it's a worrying thought, though, that that's how many games in a row in the league have we not scored? Obviously, take Livingston out last week, but
I don't know.
Like,
but I was just going to say, on your point about the bench, like, see, once Henderson came on, I thought that's all we've got. There's nothing else in that bench that's going to turn this game. Nothing. Henderson was the obvious sub. Henderson for that take your pick, Doyle, Hayes, or Campbell. After that, you're looking at it and you're thinking, this is probably our strongest team out here. I
think Jasper was probably one that no one really knows what he's like. So I think now we've seen him. I think he's definitely one that I would like to see at least start on Sunday against Arbroath. Or
ahead of who?
Ahead of... That's a good point, actually. I get it. Ahead of who?
It's a tough one.
We've got that many wingers. You can't drop Cadden. Cadden's got to be the first name on the sheet for me.
Unless you play him through the middle, but then you sort of risk dropping Muller. But
can't drop Muller. Do you know what I mean? That's the problem. We've got that many wingers.
I think we are very top heavy up the top half of the pitch, and we're bear in mind also, like, Hanlon's no there and Clark's no there. I know I'm no Hanlon's biggest fan, but I think there's definitely something to be said about. I wonder what the results would have been like if he was in the team, especially the Livingston and the St Mirren ones, because I think he's a steady Eddie at the back, and I think we don't really have that just now. But then also the question, I know I'm probably off on a wee tangent here, but if Hanlon comes back, when Hanlon's fit, I don't know how long he's out for. No one really knows. But who drops out for this? That back? Rocky? Stevenson.
It would be Stevenson.
I'd drop Stevenson. I know it's a difficult choice to make. It's a difficult call to make because I think Stevenson's been good, but I think, to be honest, Hanlon, like Charles saying, steady Eddie. I think Hanlon has qualities that the other guys don't, and he has that experience as well that will help you as a calm head. And I know a lot of people won't like me, Charlie and Cody won't like me saying that, but it's true. He is a calm head and he is an experienced head, and I think we need that. But yeah, what ifs? Football's a game built on what ifs. But to be honest, I think the defence is the least of our problems right now. I think the defence have looked no bad. It's the midfield for me, because that's where we've been losing the ball. That's where it's been leading to getting into dangerous situations. So I think the midfield's the one that really needs to sort of get properly looked at, so that we can get something going in midfield. A bit like the season, the 17-18 season, when we had that good midfield and we could get things going in midfield. I want a midfield like that, because then it takes less pressure off Cadden and Mitchell and Mueller, because they're the only outballs right now. It's like, Boyle's left, but it's still the same problem. It's like there's a magnetic force pulling it down into that corner or down
my dad said the exact same thing on Saturday. We were chatting during the game at some point, and he was saying it's almost like we've replaced Boyle's outball with Cadden's outball, and and I don't know if that's just the type of play that we've been so used to for so many years with Jack Ross, but I feel like it's something that needs to be eradicated very, very quickly, or else we've nothing. We can't go through the middle because our midfield's powder puff. We can't keep playing it out wide because teams have sussed us out. So what else do we do? You know what I mean? Like, we can't play the hoofball, because that's like watching the other half of the city. So you can, like, we've no. I feel like Maloney's style of play is good if it works, and if it doesn't, we've no plan B.
Aye, definitely.
If we got on the end of a few of those chances at the weekend, and I know the old thing, if was it if my auntie had balls, she'd be my uncle. I get that. But at the same time, that's why I put that tweet at the end, and then my ass says, I don't actually think we're a million miles away. Like, I'm watching it, and there's a lot of Hibs fans that, to be honest with you, they probably shouldn't support Hibs, because you need to have an understanding of what Hibs are, right? They're a mediocre team, right? We're not going to win the league, right? We've got more chance of getting relegated than we have of winning the league, right? That's just the facts, right? The other fact is, it's a hard truth for a lot of folk to hear. We're not that good. We've never really been that good. We'll maybe win a cup once every 10 years, or we'll get a third, Ken, maybe once every 10 years. I know we're trying to build towards a consistency. We're at third each year, but you've got to start somewhere. Like, you have to understand as well, like, the league is very competitive. Like, you might not like to hear it, but teams like Motherwell, they're a hard team to beat. They are.
Yeah.
They've got decent players. Aberdeen, they've always been a decent team. Hearts are just big and physical and horrible, and we never really did that well against them. And I'm no settling. I'm just actually looking at the facts here. Ken, you like your Celtic, your Rangers, you rarely get a result off of them at home or away, really. So you need to understand, Ken, what we sort of are. I mean, Muller, for me, at the weekend was so positive getting on the ball, trying to go forward. And the minute he lost it, folk couldn't wait to get up out their seat and shout something. They were just itching to shout something negative all the time. And it's like, see if that's what you're here for. Like, honestly, like, just forget it, man. Just go and, you'd be as well as going supporting someone else, because the majority of all folk what I do is moan. Do you know what I mean? For me, anyway, and I'm not saying I'm no moaning because I'm happy with it, but it's been a lot worse. And a lot of folk feel that's a dangerous thing to say, or it could be worse. But I tell you what, it has been a lot worse at Easter Road. Do you know what I mean? It's no great, and I'm not a fan of Jake Delhaize. I don't think he's good enough. I've said that at the week. I don't think Neil's particularly good enough, and I don't think Campbell's good enough either. I think people need to, just have a wee bit of a reality check and realise that, as I said, I think take Celtic and Rangers out of this league, and I think it's the most competitive league in Europe. It's an extremely competitive league.
Yeah, exactly. Outside of those two. The thing is, the other thing I want to sort of say about that, and I know people might not like to hear this, but it's true that you've got a manager coming in that is radically changing the style of football halfway through a season. To me, this season's a write-off now, to be honest. It's just get it done, hopefully get top six. If we can get fourth and get into Europe, that would be brilliant. We do well in the cup. I'd like to see the semi-final, the final. Win the damn thing would be nice, but I'm not going to get ahead of myself here. And I think that would be okay. And then give Maloney, a bit like when Jack Ross first came in, then give Maloney all of the next season, give him a full season, summer and winter window, and I can guarantee you something special's coming. We need to get the deadwood out of the squad.
I'd like to jump in and say that I don't think the season's a write-off at all by any stretch. I think if results can click,
places, it's got to take. It's got to take a miracle to derail that.
It's going to take
Hearts 10 points ahead, but I didn't mean write off as in let's know. I mean what I meant to say is it shouldn't really be right. We've got this sort of. I don't want to say lower the bar because you'll get you're accepting me.
Listen, fourth after the mess we've been in the last couple of years.
I think fourth is where we'll finish. I think we just need to start I think we just need to click, and I think once we click, we'll be flying.
Absolutely.
It's something's obviously happened for going from beating Aberdeen 1-0 and then to convincingly beating Dundee United 3-1 to losing at home to St Mirren and Livingston. Something's changed. I don't know what it is, but I think going back to your point, Calvin, about Muller, I really like Muller. I think he's obviously still adjusting to the game. And let's not forget, he's just played a full season in America. But sometimes, and I'm not being negative about him, but I think sometimes he takes 2 extra touches. I think sometimes he can probably get rid of the ball in 2 and he's still done the exact same as what he's done when he takes 4.
Yeah.
But you're right, Calvin. I think some people are, and I'm probably too quick to shout at Nisbet for being a lazy bastard at times. But I think that's just the nature of it. We as Hibs fans, we probably expect too much.
And there's no evidence to back it up when you look at what we expect. There's no evidence.
That's all right because we're ambitious football fans and we want the best for our club and what have you. But I think we need to also remember that Maloney's brand new into this job. People calling for Maloney's head already hand your season ticket back. Then he come back to Easter Road if that's the attitude you're having with a new manager that's been in the door 2 minutes.
As well. Like, well, I want to quickly make a comparison here with Maloney, but it's the same thing as well. Like, wait until everybody's crying out for Dabrowski, right? Wait until Dabrowski makes a mistake. He's going to get caught out with one of these back passes that the defence keep on putting to him and putting him under pressure. He's going to get caught with it, and Twitter's got to go into a meltdown. They're all going to be calling for him, saying, he's hopeless, he's no this, he's no good enough. It's got to happen. Mark my words, it's got to happen. But just before we move on, because I think we've kind of summed up the St Mirren game, be more of a conversation about the team and the structure of the play rather than the result. Because we could, it's a bit boring just going on about the same thing, the results and that. But for me, I wrote this up last night. I was going to tweet it out, but I thought, Christ, I actually want to go to sleep tonight, so I'll no bother. It's a difference between Sean Maloney and Ian Cathro. Now, a lot of people are saying Cathro, Maloney's our version of Cathro. It's a lazy comparison, and here's why.
Get me started on that. Because I'll tell you what, I've got a rant prepared.
If you look at Sean Maloney, right, here's a comparison between the two. The teams played for, so Maloney, Celtic, Aston Villa, Wigan, Chicago Fire, Hull City, and the Scotland national team, right? You've got Ian Cathro, who's played for Forfar and Brecon, right?
Look at the teams he managed, right? For example.
Well, hang on a minute, Jack. If you have a look here as well, you've got major honours, right? Sean Maloney, he's won 9 major honours, right? Plus, he's a UEFA Cup runner-up, right, in his playing career. And then you've got Cathro, who's won a grand total of nothing, right? Same as Craig Levine. So it's a lazy comparison. Maloney's a winner, and what those stats tell you is he knows what it means to win. He's been part of a winning team and a winning culture pretty much everywhere he's went. Now, Cathro's greatest managerial success was helping guide Valencia to 4th place in La Liga, which to be fair, is a really, really good sort of, as assistant manager, is a really, really good, it's a good feather in his cap, because that's quite a good thing to get them there. I realise that, but Maloney's been part of a really good Belgium side as well, and I think the reason that comparison is lazy is because Cathro doesn't know what it's like to be part of a winning culture, whereas I think Maloney does personally.
Yeah, I think the one for me about Cathro as well is there was no respect in that Hearts dressing room for him either, because how unexperienced he was.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was as simple as at least Maloney comes in with a bit of clout, and you can tell he's respected by the players. The way the players talk about him, you can tell he's respected by the players, and that's also, I think, sort of touch on the managerial sort of, I would say, pedigree point as well. I think the Valencia one, for me, Cathro, that was a good Valencia team that should have been doing a lot more outside of the league. And remember, if it's the season I'm thinking about, they got put at the Copa del Rey by somebody embarrassing when they were favourites to win it.
Bear in mind, Jack. Bear in mind, we're about to play Arbroath on Saturday. We're flying. Ken, if we get beat on Saturday, these comparisons are going to fly again, and it's going to be, and the reaction on Twitter is going to be a meltdown, mate. So, as much as I agree, I think we shouldn't bite our tongue too early. You know what I mean?
What I've got to say about that though is, right, now if it's the season I'm thinking of, it was Unionistas de Salamanca who are in the Spanish third division. That's not exactly Arbroath.
Season, Jack. 2014, 2015.
Yeah, it was Unionistas de Salamanca then. I knew it. The thing is, right, they were in the third division. They were in the Tercera division. That's not Arbroath levels. That's you're talking about Cove, who we beat just. But the thing is, for me, is don't compare Maloney to Cathro. It's just a silly, like Calvin's a silly, lazy comparison. And Maloney's a lot more exciting. You can tell what he wants to do. And I think he's going to have a decent time, but we've got to give him the time. I've said this so many times on here. Rome wasn't built in a day. We've got to give him the time, because he is building something special. And like I said, the bones of it are there. The foundations are there. We just need to build on those foundations, get in more players that can fit in with his style in the summer, and we'll be good. So I think this season's about getting it over the finishing line, hopefully get 4th in European football. I'd love that. And then next season we can start really building on the big ambitions. So that's it for me. But anybody calling for Maloney's head, it's not right. It's not right for me because he's a good coach and he's a good manager, and I think that he is building something. I know I've said that so many times before, but he is building something. Just please give him the support. It's not like with Jack Ross, where I think Jack Ross genuinely he had a sort of decent CV behind him, and folk were getting frustrated. Well, I'd like to have it on the record that I think we should have given Jack Ross at least the cup final, but that ship sailed, and that let's leave that skeleton in the cupboard. But for me, Maloney as a manager needs to be backed, and he needs the fans really behind him.
Yeah,
And that's it for me. All this, and I think I know. Again, it's not a great thing, but see when you hear all this, like what you say, folk, the minute something happened where he got to get up off their seats to have a complaint. He's now where you sit, Calvin. You're not that far away from our dugout. Do you think it's going to be nice for Maloney to be sitting there hearing that? It's no good for him. It's no good for the players.
he's already had a wee bit of interaction with the crowd as well.
Yeah,
with the players and that.
So I think it's no good for morale. And I know it's difficult. You know, I can be guilty of getting carried away sometimes. I'll be the first to admit that. But I think it's, and I'm sure Charlie will join me in saying that as well. The two of us will get barred one day. Anyway, I think the thing is you've just, it doesn't help. It's a big mentality thing. Is if you're clapping the play, like I said, I never boo, no matter what the result is. If we lose, I don't say anything because you go, no, right, okay, if we lose, that's it, just leave, go home. If we win, I clap them. But even like Jasper, I think that's the thing. Jasper and Rocky, they came over and were East Stand at full time against the minute. Nobody was doing it back, so I decided to stand just at the stairs before you go down because to show them a bit of appreciation. At least they both of them put in a good effort in the game, and they're showing a bit of appreciation to the fans. And I think little things like that help the players because at least they know, right, or at least they're no against us. You know what I mean? And I think folk are, I've said this before, folk are entitled to criticise. Christ, I criticise all the time. If you want to come and sit next to me at Easter Road, you'll see criticism, trust me. But there's a line between criticism and then just being toxic for the sake of it. Can you know what I mean?
Okay, Jack, so tell us about the women's team's 1-0 defeat to Aberdeen.
To be honest, I think we were quite unfortunate in that game. I know we should be beating teams like Aberdeen, and it feels sort of like going back to the Partick defeat. Feels like that to me, where it's a team we should have really been beaten, but this just didn't click on the day. I think we're dealing with some very tough conditions up there. Very sort of windy.
Dean said that the wind sort of affected the
very
match,
windy and sort of snowy. And I think we were unfortunate because Aberdeen went 1-0 up very early on. I think it was about the 8th minute and just dug in. And we had a few chances from what Dean's been saying. And I'm yet to watch the highlights on recast, but I will watch them as soon as I can. But from what Dean was saying and from my own judgments of what I was hearing from other people, that we were getting a lot cleared off the line, or we just maybe weren't taking our chances at the best of times. So I think it is an unfortunate one. It's not good for momentum because I think we actually started the year quite well. We got that draw against Celtic. We ground out that win against Motherwell. We were very unlucky against Rangers. We got that big win against St Johnstone in the Cup. So I think for me, it was extremely unfortunate. But at the end of the day, fair play to Aberdeen because they put in a good performance, and we just maybe weren't up into our usual intensity. And I think
do you think the girls have maybe became a wee bit stale because they kind of know where they are, like they know what they are, like they probably are. If you were to lay out and guess at the start of the season, a better man probably would have put us in 4th place, and we're there comfortably at the moment. I think we're still 9 points above Aberdeen. Do you think they've sort of took the foot off the gas a wee bit, or
I don't think
it is because they don't really seem to have the drive to get any further than 4th, but they all seem to be pretty comfortable there at the same time.
I think fourth's enough for me, to be honest, considering what we've got. I'd like to see 3rd and push for Champions League, but I don't think that's realistic with the way the 3 Glasgow teams have invested in. I think Celtic are a way out in front in 3rd, but it is, losses like that won't help because I think it's getting quite tight round our neck of the woods in the table, and you can tell that the gap between mid-table and the upper half of the table in the SWPL is narrowing. Now, in the past, you'd be playing teams like Forfar Farmington or Glasgow Women or teams like that or Stirling Uni even, that you knew you'd be getting points against, guaranteed in a season you'd be getting points against them. It's not like that anymore. You've got Aberdeen, you've got another big name in the form of Dundee United. They're probably going to come up next season. They have the money and the resources to throw at it. So I think it's important that we beat teams like that for me.
Hearts are
But I think
improving as
fourth,
well.
I'm happy with fourth. And I think we're going to stick there. I don't think the girls are taking their foot off the gas at all because they're not like that as a team. I think you speak to any of them, they'll tell you that they always
Do
want
you
to aim
think?
for more.
Do you think everyone else is caught up? Because for me, I feel like we're kind of like in the same. We're just the same, whereas everyone else is getting better. Like I feel like Celtic and that, and Rangers and Glasgow City are a lot better than we are, and I feel like the likes in Motherwell and Hearts and that aren't really that far behind us.
They aren't far
I
behind us
feel
at
like
all.
3 years time, like where are we going to be? Are we going to be fighting with the teams above us, or are we going to be in the same place
Are we
because
going to
they're
be?
only going to get better and better? And for me, the teams below us are getting better and better. Like
They are.
when I saw us play Hearts, I thought that lassie, the Hearts coach, I can't remember her name off the top of
Eva
my head.
Olive.
What's her name again?
Eva Olive.
Aye, Eva. She had from when I seen them at Easter Road compared to when we played them at Tynecastle, they'd gotten a lot better, and they're getting good at picking up results too. Like they beat Motherwell and that the weekend. Like whereas I feel like we're a wee bit stale at times.
Yeah, I think for me is it's difficult to judge it off of one game because I think like the
Aye, but
Partick,
that's been like if you look at the whole season, like judging it off the whole season, like losing to Partick and that. Like another thing I was going to say is like, what's your thoughts on like the likes of Alexa? Like it's all good and well scoring against like lower league opposition, like we did last week. Scoring those, it's two or three. She got two last week, was it?
she got two against
It's
St
like, but
Johnstone.
we seem to struggle scoring against, bigger teams like the Celtics, like the Rangers, like, um, you know, uh, just week in, week out, we seem to really struggle to score.
I
But
think
when we play lower league, like the St Johnstone or the Genefield Swifts or whatever you call them, like we seem to be able to score for fun. But it seems like a step up the league we're in. We seem to be struggling, I think, up front.
I think to me that's nothing to. I think for me, and I've been watching Alexa play a lot recently, and it's not for anyone and no trying. It's because I think how she plays, and also you've got to factor, and I've said this before, is her height. It makes her an easy target, and a bit like with Boyle, the defenders are doubling up on Alexa, and they know that she'll be easy to take out. And I've noticed that a lot. Whilst against lower league teams, that's not going to be much of a problem because Alexa's pace and height catches them out. But when you're playing experienced defenders for the likes of Aberdeen, for Celtic, for Rangers, it becomes a problem. Now, like I said, the Aberdeen defeat, I don't think it's defeats like that in Partick. You just got to go right. They're sort of blips because apart from those two, we've not lost to anybody in that sort of neck of the woods of the table. And I don't think scoring goals is particularly a problem because before Sunday, you had to go all the way back to November, the last time we didn't score a goal. So even in the games we were losing or drawing, we were still scoring goals. So I think for me, it was just a case of, well, we're unlucky with the fact that Aberdeen were just really good at shutting us out.
Mm.
And what will be good for us is I think we've got Cairn in the Cup on Sunday. Now, they're third division. They're in the same league as Edinburgh City, SWF Championship South. I think that'll be a good confidence booster. Just get out there. That's a team that, no great disrespect to them, but we should be putting double figures past them.
Mm-hmm.
Just get out there and that'll do it because it did it for Celtic. Celtic were on a bit of a shaky run and then they came and beat City 12-0 and then Celtic got their confidence back. So I think we need a bit of a confidence booster. We need a bit of a game where we can just get the ball down, play our way of football. I think that's it because we didn't play badly against Aberdeen. Our work rate was good.
Mm-hmm.
I think apart from their goal, we were brilliant at the back, but that just magic moment didn't come for us. And I think that's the common theme in a lot of these games. And it's disappointing, but I know at least the girls, I don't think it's like with the men where it's because the ability's no there. With some of the players, I think with the girls, it's just they have unlucky games because we've got a talented squad. And I think all three of us have said this before, we've got a talented squad. It's just sometimes that talent doesn't come out in games because I think we have a very set game plan. And when we get frustrated out of that, we begin to lose our heads a bit. I've noticed that. So another thing is the one thing I would like to see is I would have liked to have seen a little bit of rotation because I think playing the same team 3 weeks in a row is not exactly a good idea with fatigue. I think fatigue probably played a big part in that Aberdeen defeat as well, to be honest, because I know we're limited with injuries, but I think Tony, Ria, even Jenna Penman, our new signing, all three of them are good enough to start for me, especially against Aberdeen. I think I said that I wanted Jenna Penman to come and get a chance against our old team. And I think Rhea and Tony would have made an impact in that midfield because they're more attack-minded midfielders.
Do you think them coming on the pitch and doing nothing's gonna? Well, not nothing, but
not nothing, because actually I'd like to. That's something I'd like to pick you up on there. Tony and Rhea, I think, from what I heard and from what I've sort of seen, the momentum swung when Tony and Rhea came on because they're more attack-minded midfielders.
Aye. No, I'm not disputing that at all. But do you think them coming on and still losing the game is going to be a hindrance for their chances, or do you think they're going to get more chances based on that? Or
not at all, to be honest, because I think it's not really their fault, if you see.
No, for sure.
It's 1-0 or 1-0 down. Aberdeen have obviously just went 1-0 up and sat back because when you're a team that neck of woods of the table, you're going to do that. You know, I think, let's be honest, Aberdeen men in their current situation would do that, go 1-0 up and probably just try and sit on it. And well, that's what Derek McInnes Aberdeen used to do. So I think, Aberdeen did that, and that's very much, you can tell with Emma Hunter, the Aberdeen manager, that's her style. That she likes to go 1-0 up and just sort of sit on it and try and defend it. So I think for us, that was a problem. And the other one that perplexed me is those two changes were good. I think bringing on Tony and Rhea were good changes, but the one that perplexed me, and it was great to see Rhea come back, but the one that perplexed me was bringing an attacking player off for a defensive player when you're losing 1-0. I don't think that was particularly great, and that was where I thought, well, I think we're just going to accept that this is it now, or we're going to try and play for a draw maybe. That's what it looked like to me when Leah Eddy came on. I'm not saying that's not against Leah. I think Leah's a brilliant player. It was great to see her come back after that wee injury. But for me, I think that defeat was particularly annoying because we were on a decent run of results, and I thought, well, it'll be like Motherwell. We'll just tough it out. We'll grind out a result. So and like I said, that's why it's crucial. I think we get a big win against Gartcairn in the cup because it'll maybe get us a bit of confidence back.
Maybe kickstart us again. Maybe.
Yeah, because we kicked on for Stirling Uni and Dundee United to beat the 10-0, 10-2, and then we started the season really well. So I think Gartcairn will have the same effect. But having said that, and we'll talk about it more probably later on in the week, is Gartcairn do have some top flight experienced players in their team, and they are the best. I'd say alongside City and Livingston, they're the best team at that level.
Nice save there, Jack. Nice save.
They're the best team in that. They're the best team at that level. So I do think they've got players that are first and second division standards. So I wouldn't. They're third division in name only, Gartcairn. They are a very decent team, and I've known that because City played them and they gave us a good game and eventually beat us.
Well, we should, if we're aiming to be the first or second or third best team there, we should really sweep them aside.
Absolutely. You know,
but what's your score predictions for the game, Jack? How do you think that one's going to go? You're saying double figures. I've been very reserved with my predictions recently when it comes to the Hibs women team.
To be honest,
take it away, mate. What do you think it's going to be?
To be honest, I'm going to say Hibs 10, Gartcairn 0.
Right, okay.
And I know that's probably, but I think City are just as good, if not a better team than Gartcairn, and I think we've been about level with Celtic this season, and didn't get the rub of the green. And if Celtic can beat City 12-0, I think we could easily do around that to Gartcairn. And so, to be fair, I do think we can do that. So but overall for me, the girls, it's a poor result, but just got to keep the heads up, move on for it. And I think, to be honest, fourth's what we're getting this season. I don't think we'll do any worse, and it's looking increasingly unlikely we'll do any better because Celtic are away out in front in third. So, yeah.
So you're going 10 now. Charlie, what are you going, mate?
I'll be happy with I was going to say I'll be happy with 1-0. I'm joking. No, I think based on us beating St Johnstone, who are a division higher than Gartcairn, Jackie.
Yeah, they're SWPL too.
So I think you're hopefully looking at like 8 or 9-0 Hibs. Like I think we need a big confidence booster.
Are they part-time? They'll be part-time, that team. They will be.
Part-time.
But I didn't want us to just be like, oh, we need a cup game to get us confidence. Like we should be able to replicate that. And obviously not putting double figures past teams in our league, but like we shouldn't be using the cup as a confidence booster for sure. But no, I'll be happy with 8 or 9. I'll go 8. I'll go 8 now.
But if we can get the silverware at the end of the game, it might be attractive, eh?
True.
Because come the end of the season, the only bit of silverware that any Hibs players touch has got to be the handcuffs that Joel Newell found himself in.
Oh,
That's got to be the only bit of silverware we touch this year.
We'll be getting a gagging order if we continue that. But no, I think I wanted to say I've seen quite a few. Sorry, I'm not going to name names, but I've seen quite a few tweets from fans of the women's team after the game that were saying some very horrible things. And I think,
is that your burner account?
Is that your account that wants Dean out again?
oh God, right? No,
Me.
actually, I'm going to stick up for Dean because I think he had a set up spot on. But I think Aberdeen frustrated us. But anyway, sorry. I wanted to say that, folks, the girls will always bounce back. They did it against Partick. They bounced back for the Partick game. They'll bounce back for this. And I think we've got a women's team that we should be very, very proud of because of their history, but also the fact that they can recover from defeats. Now, if they were anything like the lads, they would have lost that and that's it. We're not going to see another win for quite a wee while. But they're not like that because they always recover. And I think they're a squad with a good attitude. And I know that because I know folk will say, but folk are saying, you just say that because you're good mates with a lot of the players or whatever. I genuinely mean it. And as people know, I know my women's football, and I see a squad that's got a lot of a good mentality when I see it, and that's what our squad have got. So yeah, I think folk need to sort of lay off it, and I think folk need to realise that it's not like the men's team where the players don't see the stuff you say very often. The players see that, and the manager sees that, and it's not going to be nice for them to see that. So try and, like, if there's a defeat, you can say, oh, maybe that wasn't great, but I genuinely think we played well. We were just unfortunate. It's as simple as that against Aberdeen. So I think we just need to dust ourselves off. I think coming on to Charlie's point about, when a cup, it being a cup game, shouldn't you need a cup game against lower league? I'm in two minds about that. I do think it'll help. At the same time, I do think how we play against these teams, we're capable of doing it. Because look at what we did against Spartans at the start of the season. We beat them 3, we blew them away. Now, usually we don't do that to Spartans. Usually games against Spartans are tight. So for me, I think we just need to find that killer instinct, and it'll come, though. It'll come, and I think once we get a properly fully fit squad, we'll be there. And yeah, I think for the cup game against Gatken, I would like to see some players start. Tony, Ria, Jenna. I'd like to see them all start. Even Rosie Livingston around it, because I think Rosie Livingston's a fantastic young player who at 15, she's got, well, look at it, she's got a massive career ahead of her. If you look at players in the women's game, like look at Joelle. Joelle's in her mid-30s now and she's still going. So Rosie's got at least 16, 17-year career ahead of her. And if she's playing first team football already at 15, you can tell. So I think the girl deserves a shot against a lower league opposition.
Yeah, well, we'll see what Dean does with the squad rotation. So you're going for 10 now, Jack. Charlie, you're going for 8 or 9. I think I'm going to go 4-1 Hibs.
You ain't got care no score.
I just try to be balanced today, Ken. I feel like sometimes when I shoot too high, I miss it.
Well, to be fair, I do agree with that. It reminds me of what they said in the new Spider-Man film. If you expect disappointment, then it's not as bad.
No, I'm not quite gone for that. I'd say I'll go 6-0. 6-0 Hibs.
That's solid.
6-0. Maybe that's a wee bit too. Maybe I'm being a wee bit too doom and gloom.
To be fair, I do think they might get a goal because their striker used to play for Forfar and she used to score against us when Forfar was still in the league. So
we'll see what time brings. Right. Well, we move on to the Rangers review, guys. Let's get fired into it. So, couple of things I just wanted to mention off the top here. And obviously, a quick ton of events will be facing Rangers on Wednesday night. So
we're facing who? We're facing who, Calvin?
Calvin,
the Rangers.
The Rangers.
Thank you.
The Rangers, the Zombies. Whatever way you call them. So, one thing Maloney said in his his post-match interview was that we will have to play differently against the Rangers. What do you think he means by that, or what could that look like?
Well, we're playing against 12 men for a start, so that'll be hard.
But his brother beating the ref.
No, it's the boy that sent Porteous off. What's his name? Nick Walsh. So actually, we're playing against 60,000 and 12 men, so it's going to be a hard game, really. I think he's gonna. I think he's probably going to try and maybe change the system a wee bit. But we'll see.
So I'm still shocked that Charlie went there, eh?
Yeah,
I think for me, I think what he means is, to me, and this just might be me misinterpreting, is cut out the silly mistakes, because as we've seen against them for Gorgie, when Rangers smell blood, they go for it. And I think I'm glad we're not playing them after that Old Firm. Like, that could have easily been us. And we've
Aye,
been
but
over
Hearts quite often get humped off the Old Firm. I mean, they got pumped off Celtic 7-0 a few times. Or was it 8-0 one time as well? Like, they get pumped off Rangers silly as well. Like, that, to be fair to us, it never really happens to us. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a Hibs team
Yeah,
get
but
more
I
than
think
4 off a
the
Rangers.
last time was that 6-1 with Heckenbottom. To be fair, we had a man sent off as well. So, but I
Aye,
think
that didn't count.
well, that's true.
That didn't count. No one was watching. That was the one. That didn't count.
But the thing for me is, I think what Maloney means is he's going to maybe try and tweak it. And I tell you what, I'm going to say this now, it's written in the stars, because every time we've had an ex-Celtic player as a manager, we do well against them at Ibrox. You look at Neil Lennon and Alan Stubbs. So I think it's written in the stars for Maloney. But I think what he means is against Rangers, we're maybe going to be more direct. So we're maybe going to cut
Do you
out
not think it'll mean we're going to be more defensive?
I don't think so. And I'm going to tell you for why. I think he wants us to be. He's probably looked at how we played against him in the semi, and he's went, right, I want us to be more direct. And I think we'll come out the traps quite quickly. I think Maloney's looked at that and went, right, I think we've got to be direct. Now
It's definitely the way to beat them.
He's definitely the way to beat them, and I think Maloney knows that.
Who have we got in that team that's like Martin Boyle though, Jack?
Well, you've got Cadden, you've got Mitchell. They struggle with pace. They've struggled with Cadden.
The thing I'm going to say about that is it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter to me, because I think Mitchell's got the speed and he'll take them on. Now, Tavernier or Barisic, Mitchell's going to turn either of them inside out, to be honest, I think, because they don't like being ran at. You've seen that against Celtic. Celtic ran at the two of them. They really struggled. I mean, and I think Mitchell could really have the Rangers defence a bit baffled. So I think for me, Maloney means will be more direct. Now, I think that might just be me being naive and wishful thinking. But I also think he means cut out the silly mistakes, because you could tell he was frustrated with that. And the past couple of games, you could tell he was frustrated with that. So hopefully Maloney gets us set up. Maybe we're a bit more direct, maybe we're a bit more gutsy, maybe we sort of run at Rangers. I'd like to see that. And I think that's what he means. I'd like to think that's what he means as well, because as you said, Calvin, that's what we need to do to beat them.
And so obviously after a couple of surprising results against Ross County and Celtic, what do you think Rangers got right against Hearts? In terms of how have they changed their mentality from getting pumped?
Well, they realised they had their wee brothers to play against, so their wee brothers lie down against them for one. But they seem to just attack from the get-go, and I think they're going to do the same against us, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going to run at us. I think that's the thing, is Rangers will be at the traps early as well, and that's why I think we need to do that to match them. I think the other thing about Hearts is they had now. I don't really like Morelos as a player, but I think having Morelos back, you could tell that gave Rangers that little bit extra something, because Morelos has that physical.
Huffalo.
I refuse to call him that, but
I'm calling him Huffalo because all he does is great. Have you seen his face? He's always huffy.
But I think having that physical presence up front really helps Rangers.
But remember, we've got big boys at the back as well, Ken.
Well, that's it.
Rocky, I didn't think Rocky can be pushed about. I think Porteous.
No, exactly. But
the main thing is, I think for me, is getting through the game with 11 players on the pitch, because they will wind Porteous up. We can't afford to have anybody sent off for that or dragged into playing any sort of daft, sort of rough style of football. We need to get the ball on the deck and pass it like what Maloney does. But I definitely think one of the biggest things we need to do is we need to come through here with 11 men, because they'll wind Porteous up for the first whistle. And if we lose Porteous, it's too much changes to the back line for Maloney, and he'll be hung out to dry.
No, exactly. We cannot afford our red card, and Ibrox is a place where you're going to be most likely to pick up a red card. I'm not saying that because I'm not going down Charlie's route of thinking here, because I'd like to.
Am I wrong though?
You're not wrong, but
what's your thought?
My thought is that we're gonna, like, Nick Walsh has sent Porteous off 3 times in his career. Last time it was never a red card, and I just think, obviously, obviously it was in the Hibs fans in the ground, but there was 60,000 of them shouting for a red card, and he gets it. The referee, as unbiased as use that term in the most ironic way possible,
Inept.
as inept as they are.
You'll get a 3-match ban now.
I couldn't care less if I get a 3-match ban for it, but he's going to turn based on what the crowd are saying.
Aye, of course he is.
So we're gonna be up against it for the word go.
Mhm.
And if we're going to come back with 11 men on that park, then we can't get drawn into that.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. Is I think, to me, we need to just calm it down, and I think it's hard. It's going to be hard for coaches because they're obviously, unfortunately, some of the stuff he's taken off of their support has been discussed, and I think it is going to be emotional for him. What he needs to do is he needs to leave that in the dressing room when he goes out onto that pitch.
Aye.
Because he reacts or he gives the referee any excuse, the red card will be out. I think we need, like what Calum was saying, we need to finish the game with 11 men if we have any chance in this. And I think the thing is, it's a two-way street. We know the officials tend to lean towards the Rangers. We know that the crowd are going to be on our players' backs, so the word go, and that the referee will probably go with the crowd. But we on the other side of that, it's a two-way street. We should not get into this stupid physical. No, don't not. You know what I mean? Don't not be physical, but don't go over the top with it, because that gives them an excuse. And if you give them an excuse, that's it. Red card, off you go, and then it becomes a problem. So I think we need to be sensible with our play. So don't launch into silly tackles. If Rangers are going to go, just because what I noticed a lot about Rangers is sometimes that their moves just break down of their own accord. I think sometimes Rangers can get forward and go, wait a minute, what we're doing here, and then it's sort of the momentum goes out of it, like they've seen against Ross County and Celtic, and even against Hearts. Now, even against Hearts sort of earlier on in the game, Rangers were like, get the ball forward and go, what do we really do here? So for me, is if they're going to go, just let them tire themselves out, or let them break it apart themselves. Then he launch into silly last-ditch tackles, because that's the last thing we need there. So I think for me is just try and play sensibly, try and play smart. That's what I want us to do at Ibrox.
So we'll dive into the next bit. Let's quickly batter through this because we've not got too long left. Right, starting 11, I think picks itself, so we'll leave that one out. What do you think it means for Maloney if he gets a result? Just very quickly before we move on to Charlie's quick quiz, so 30 seconds each.
It's huge.
What will it do for Maloney if he gets a result?
I'll get the fans on side, for one. I mean, winning at Ibrox is the next best thing to winning at Tynecastle. So I think it'll get the fans on side, but also it'll do his confidence good himself, because he'll go, and I think it'll be a heroic moment for an ex-Celtic player going to Ibrox as a manager, his first managerial gig, and winning. I think that would be a big thing for him. So for me, it gets the fans on side, and it proves that we can compete with the Old Firm and that we can get results against the Old Firm. It's something that we need to prove that we can do, because I think we're capable of it. So I think it'll show what this team's abilities are if we can get through it, and it'll maybe restore a bit of faith in Maloney, and also prove that Maloney is on the way to building something good, and it'll do his confidence a world of good as well.
And Charlie?
Probably swings our season a wee bit. I think gives us a big momentum boost, especially going into a tough game on Sunday against Arbroath. I think, I don't think it's going to buy anyone's support though. I think, it's a good way to get a result and whatever, but I still think there's going to be people that aren't happy with him, regardless of what he does now, and that's just it. I think, for my money though, if he wins, like, ideal, cracking, come on, good momentum builder, but I don't think it'll buy many people's support, unfortunately.
I think for me, if he wins it, I'm with you, Charlie. I think it swings the momentum a wee bit, and people might buy into what he's doing. So, right, Charlie, let's jump on over to your quiz, mate.
We're doing score predictions, or we're leaving it?
Oh, score predictions, aye. Let's go then.
I'll start. I think 3-1 Rangers, unfortunately.
Right, Charlie. Sorry, Jack.
I'm going to say a tight 1-0 Hibs, and Nisbet is going to score in the 89th minute.
I'm going 2-0 Hibs. 2-0 Hibs, aye.
I'll have some of what you're having, mate.
That's it. Right, Charlie, jump onto this quiz.
Right, let's do it. So we've started this new section on the podcast where we'll do a wee quiz every week, and Calvin unfortunately got one wrong last week, so I actually got one, which I'm delighted because the quiz was difficult. So, we've got 5 questions this week. To get the memories going. And so first question, and Calvin, I'll come to you first. Gordon Smith is Hibs' top goal scorer ever. How many goals did he score in total for Hibs?
Mate, my knowledge and stuff like this is not great. How many did he score for Hibs? 89?
89. Okay.
Don't know. 40 miles off it.
Jack.
Oh, that's
Hey, go off the giggle, Jack. I can see you. I'm just winding you up, mate.
Jack, you still there? Oh, he's having audio difficulties here. He's connecting to audio. We'll give him a second.
right.
So Jack, how many goals did Gordon Smith score for Hibs?
This is difficult. It's a lot, isn't it? Because I think he's one of our longest serving players. I'm going to guess. I'm going to go for 120. Scored 120.
You're both miles off it. It's 303 goals for Hibs. And I don't think
to the listeners, I hang my head, by the way. You'll be thinking I'm leaving a fan.
I was
Yeah,
closer than him.
there'll be.
I knew it was a lot.
I thought you meant just in the, well, if you look at just the goals he scored for Hibs in the league, he's 125. I'm no miles away.
You're no miles away.
For
So
someone who never seen the guy play.
next question: who is Hibs' youngest player ever? Jack, we'll start with you this time.
Oh, that's the longest player ever. Like to start for Hibs.
The men's team, not the women's.
The men's team. Oh God. That's a difficult one. Like, is it by any chance? I might be wrong here, but is it like by any chance a young? Was it a young Derek Riordan? Was it a young Derek Riordan?
I'll go to Calvin as well. Calvin, before I say the answer, Calvin, who's youngest player ever for Hibs?
I want to say someone around like the Fletcher in that era. I'm just trying to think like. I want to say Lewis Stevenson, but I think that's wrong because Kenny was very young in the cup final.
You're both wrong.
Kevin McCann?
Nah, it's Jamie McCluskey. If you remember back to McCluskey.
Yes, I remember McCluskey.
That's a wee bit before my time, is it?
That's all right.
I remember McCluskey. Do you remember? I remember if you've ever listened to the Open Goal episode, the reason Stephen Fletcher actually signed for Hibs because him and McCluskey were best mates. Is that no right?
Aye, that's right.
Him and McCluskey were best mates, and McCluskey was on trial with Hibs, and Fletcher had stayed over at his house the night before, and he came along as well to the trial to watch his mate McCluskey play, and the boys, one of the Hibs scouts says to McCluskey's dad, "How old's that laddie there?" Talking about Stephen Fletcher, and he said, "Oh, he's the same age." He said, "Does he want to play?" Fletcher went on and scored a hat trick, and they signed him.
Aye, there you go. So we'll move on to the next one.
That counts as a point.
If I had sympathy points, mate, you'd get one. This one, hopefully you get this, or the podcast is being terminated instantly. How many times have we won the Scottish Cup? Men's again.
Will you come into first?
I'll go back to Calvin first.
I'm going 3 times.
Jack?
3.
3, bang on, point each.
So, it was 1890 something.
1890.
Wow, I was sweating, by the way. I'm terrible.
1896, I think.
1902.
1902. And then, so number 4. Who is Hibs' longest serving manager? Jack, we'll start with you.
Whew, and I think I know it's the famous 5 manager, Shaw. Hugh Shaw.
Calvin?
Paul Heckenbottom. Christ, I only started watching football at the Bobby Williamson era, so any before that, I have no idea. Longest serving manager. I can't even remember the likes of McLeish and all that and Latapy's era. I wasn't old enough. I can Turnbull's Tornadoes. How long was Turnbull there for? I honestly don't know.
Well, This certain manager won us the Scottish Cup in 1902. It's Dan McMichael. It's
Oh, for God's sake!
Jack, your Hibs history isn't as good as you
Hugh
first thought.
Hugh Shaw, I wasn't far off it. I was nearer than him.
Hugh Shaw is he's in the top 5, I think. So last question. This is a Hibs woman one.
How many? Get it right then.
What chance have I got, man?
You should be fine. I'll come to you first, Jack, because I started with Calvin there. How many times have Hibs women represented the club in Europe?
There's 3. I think it's 3. There was the old UEFA Women's Cup before they got the Champions League. Then the Champions League in 2012, 13, 14 sort of time when we played Bayern. Then there was 2 seasons ago when we got through the qualifiers and then played Slavia Prague.
So you're going 3. Calvin, how many times?
I'm going 4.
Well,
I can tell you that Calvin's closer to the right answer. It's 6.
Oh.
I didn't realise that we had so many. I know now that the league would have probably qualified us for the old UEFA Women's Cup, but I didn't realise that you could have back. There you go. 6 is so bad.
It's 1-1, so I've got a wee tiebreaker one that I had just in case. So,
Right.
who?
Don't ask me one, like, what number is Chris Doidge or something like that? Come on.
who is Hibs' top goal scorer this season? I'll come to you, Calvin.
Martin Boyle.
Jack?
Does it count for players that have left? Does it has to be players that are still here?
It's in total. Who's Hibs' top goal scorer this season?
Well, it's Boiler, surely.
Oh, you're both right. So we'll call it a draw at 2-2.
We're both right.
You're both right. Martin Boyle. Kevin Nisbet is now our top goal scorer with a total of 5 goals.
There you go.
Fair enough.
There we are.
Right. Couldn't separate this, Jack.
That brings the quiz to a close. Good job, boys.
Yeah, so no worries. We'll be back next week. This was a bit of a longer episode. Good for the 3 of us to be back. We'll be back on Thursday or something like that, or maybe sometime during the week to review the Rangers game and hear our thoughts.
I think we might have a guest on Thursday, Calvin.
We're hoping to have a guest. He couldn't join us tonight, unfortunately, because he's quite a high-profile guy now, working for the BBC and all that, and he was a wee bit busy getting back tonight. But we're hoping to be joined by a special guest during the week there for a little bit of feedback on the Rangers game. So, until next time, on the Hibs.